I begin to.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this dress. So the first thing you're going to do is to mark where you want the top part to start. So for me, I want it to start at 6. So you see I left about half an inch at the top. So this is my starting line, the first line I wrote here. And then the second line is my chest line, which you can divide, you can get by doing your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. Whatever line that is going to be your chest line. The next one is from your shoulder to your nipple, which is your bust line, your shoulder to your under bust, and then your shoulder to your waist. So that's basically what I have here. So once that is done, the next thing you're going to do is your nipple to nipple divided by 2. Go ahead, mark it on this line. Also mark it. So for me that is 4. I'm going to mark it here and then also mark it down here. And then after that, I'm going to connect all of them in a straight line like this. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and mark half an inch towards me, just like that. So guys, you're going to go ahead and mark half an inch here, half an inch here, half an inch on the waist, half an inch on the bust line, connect it together, and then you're going to go ahead and connect it to this point. And then on the outer part, you're going to go ahead and mark 1.5. If you're more on the smaller side, you can do 1 inch. So I'm going to do 1.5 here. If you're more on the bustier side, go ahead and do probably 1.75 or even almost 2 inches, depending on your bust size. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 1.5 here. Connect the two together, just like this. And then I'm also going to connect it to this point here. And then after that, the next thing you're going to do is from this shoulder part, you're going to go in by at least 5 inches. Mark it, and then go and mark 1 inch on this side, 1 inch on this side. A smaller person can still do 0.75 on this side, 0.75 on this side, but my bust is quite big, so I'm going to do 1 inch on this side, 1 inch on this other side. So first connect your straight line, and then you're going to go ahead and connect this one here, and then connect the outer one too. So once that is done, the next thing I'm going to do is just to go ahead and put in my measurement. But before you do that, don't forget to also use a curve ruler to connect this part. So you're going to use your curve ruler to connect from this point here, just like this, from here to here. So just do it that way. You can use your hand to connect it if your ruler doesn't work for you. Use your hand to connect it, just this one out here. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and insert my measurement. So coming to the top here, I'm going to do my shoulder measurement divided by 2. Mark that here. That is 8 for me. I'm going to insert whatever I have here, which is 2. A smaller person might have 1.5 here if you did 0.7, 0.7. So whatever you have, insert it here. And then after that, I'm also going to go ahead on my chest line, divide my bust measurement by 4. My bust is 42. I'm going to go ahead on this line. What I have in between here is about 1 inch. Add it here, and then add 2 inches of sewing. Come down to this, my waist divided by 4, which is going to be about 36. Mark it here, and then I'm going to add whatever I have here, which is 2 inches, and then also my 2 inches of sewing allowance. And that's basically it. I'm going to go ahead and connect this together, and once you connect it, you're going to give it a curve from this point here all the way to this point. So this is going to form my armhole, right? But since I'm going to be making this a sleeveless, I'm going to bring this by 1 inch. I'm going to bring it in 1 inch, because this is going to be a sleeveless. But if you want to attach a sleeve to yours, leave it this way. But I'm going to be making it sleeveless, so I'm going to mark 1 inch out here, and then go back in again and rule my line. So this is going to be my new curve, right? So I'm going to go and erase this one. So that's basically it. I'm going to just go ahead and cut from this point down out here, and that's basically it. So guys, now that I've cut it out, the next thing I'm going to do is my neckline. So I'm going to come down here by 2 inches. It depends on you. So I'm going to do 2 inches from this point down. It depends on how open you want yours to be. So I'm going to do 2 inches for mine. You can do 2.5, it depends on you. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect it from this point here all the way to this point here. So just like this. I'm doing 2 inches because half an inch of this part is still going to serve as my seam allowance. So I'm just going to do it this way because half of this here is still going to be my neckline. So you can use a curve ruler, you don't have to make it V. So you can use like a curve ruler to mark yours, like this, right? So I'm just going to cut mine out now. So guys, that's basically it for our front panel. So all we have to do now is to go back and draft out the top part that is going to overlap the back. So guys, to draft the upper part that will overlap, the first thing you're going to do is to go ahead and mark your shoulder measurements. Like I said, mine is going to be sleeveless. So normally if I mark my shoulder, it will be my shoulder divided by 2 would have been somewhere here at 8. But since I'm going to remove 1 inch just like I did before because of my so I'm going to mark it at 7 because it doesn't have any sleeve. I'm going to also bring it down somewhere here and then connect it like this. This line I have here is also the same thing. My chest, round my bust divide is my chest line, which is my round bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. That's this line here. And then I'm going to connect it like this. Give it a curve. Right, give it a curve like this, and this is going to be my front armhole. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead to this part here, mark my neck width 3 inches, and then I'm going to do 3 inches of neck depth also, and then I'm going to go ahead and connect it together. And then after that, the next thing you're going to do is to go ahead and mark 1 inch for the shoulder slope. And then I'm going to connect it from that point to this point. Add half an inch of seam allowance. Like you can see here, I didn't start all my measurements from the top. I added the room for my seam allowance. So mark that one also. And then after that, the next thing you're going to do is your bust measurement divided by 4. Like I said, mine will be somewhere here, right? And then I'm going to do about 1 inch of seam allowance. The other one, this one here, I did 2 inches of seam allowance because that extra 1 inch is what I want to use to join the center part, right? Then 1 inch is going to serve as my side seam allowance. But if you want, you can give your, if you want to use 2 inches just for your seam allowance alone, then you can go ahead and mark just whatever you use as seam allowance here, also use it here, is what I'm trying to explain. The only difference is that my actual seam allowance here is 1 inch. The other 1 inch is just for the side that I'm going to be sewing together. But if you want, you can also, as you're cutting your fabric, give it half an inch at the side. That way, this side seam is just for the side seam. It won't account for the center part here. But I want my side seam here to also account for the center part here. So yours, you can change it. But ideally, what you should do is just do these 2 inches here and then cut out when you're cutting your fabric. But I'm not sure if my fabric will be enough, so I'm trying to manage my fabric ahead of time. But what you should do is the same way you mark 2 inches for the side, when you go to draft your pattern, this center part, you should be able to add half an inch to it. So, and if you do that, then that means my side seam on this one too will be 2 inches. You understand? 2 inches for the side seam. Don't use 1 inch here and use 2 inches here. So after that, you're going to come down from the shoulder to where you want the length of this overlapping top part to be. So let's say I decide to do at least to the same length as where my shoulder to my nipple line is, which is 12.5. That will be somewhere here. You can do just 2 inches below. It depends on you. Mine is 2.5 inches below. So connect it this way. And then after that, you're going to go from your shoulder to where you want the upper part of this to be. You can do exactly where your line started. My line started at 6 inches, right? So I can do that same 6 inches here by the center and then connect it like this. And then just give it a curve from this side here all the way. So So you can bring yours out more. Don't just, you can freehand it, or you can just use your ruler to connect. So anyone you want, you can do. So then I'm going to just go ahead and bring down this, my line down here like this, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut it. So just like that. So this is going to be serving as my overlap. So guys, you see what it's looking like right now. So I'm going to go ahead now and trace this out on my fabric. So guys, you see I've gone ahead and traced this. So don't forget to also that you're going to be joining this by the center, and this side here is on a fold, right? This I cut it at the edge, but you see this center part here is supposed to be on a fold, so that once you remove it, you're going to have something that looks like this for the center. So you're going to also trace lining for this piece here, and then this one is just single. So I'm going to so this one here is just one two piece, one for each side, one for the other side. So you see, one on this side, one on this other side. So I'm going to be joining it here, and then using a lining to turn it over. And then for the upper part, what I have here is just one piece that is, I folded it by this edge here too. So this is what it looks like once it's open like this. So this is going to be at the top here. So in the meantime, like I'm using I have two of this blue, so I'm going to use it to turn it over on itself. So how you're going to turn it over is that you're going to go ahead, because this my own is going to be a sleeveless, right? I'm going to go ahead and join the edge here all the way. So once you're going to turn it to the wrong side facing each other, sorry, right side facing each other. So this is the right and this is the right. You're going to just take it, sew it down like this, and then also sew the neckline, sew the sleeve, fold it out, and then iron it. You understand? So you're going to fold all the sides everywhere, and then maybe from this opening here, you're going to try to flip it out and iron it. So all the edges will be turned over by the time you're done. And then you're going to also sew this one, join it together, the three piece together, and then use your lining to turn it over by the top part here. And then for the back panel, this is what I'm using for the back. So basically what I did here is just the same shoulder to waist that I have here is what I marked. And then what I'm going to do next is going to mark 1/2 inch for the shoulder, seam allowance on the shoulder like I did before, because you see this one here also has 1/2 inch for the shoulder, and insert my shoulder measurement divided by 2. Like I said, it's 8, but since it's sleeveless, I took out 1 inch. And then I'm going to go ahead and mark my armhole divided by 2 plus sorry, my armhole divided by 2 is what I'm going to mark. Like I said, if you want to calculate yours, round the bust divided by 6 plus 1.5, whatever you get. Now I'm going to connect it to the top and then give it a curve like this. Come in here, mark my 1 inch of shoulder slope, mark my 3 inches of neckline, connect my shoulder slope like this, and then mark the 1/2 inch of joining it also. Let me go ahead and mark that so it is. So you see, I've also inserted my seam allowance there. And then I'm going to do 1 inch for my neck depth, and then connect it just like that. And that's basically all I have to do here. Come down to the waist, my waist divided by 4, mark that, add 2 inches here, 1 inch of darting and 1 inch of seam allowance, but I'm going to be doing 2 inches of seam allowance because that's what I did by the bust. So that's almost 3 inches added to it. And then connect it to the waist, to this part. And then guys, as you can see, all my measurements are starting after this 1 inch of my zipper allowance. You see, after this 1 inch of zipper allowance, I still have my bust divided by 4 plus extra 2 inches of seam allowance, right? So now the next thing I'm going to do is also to insert my dart. So my nipple to nipple divided by 2, mark that, 1/2 inch on this side, 1/2 inch on this side. Then my dart is going to go up to the chest line, which is here, the same line as this, 1/2 inch going up here, 1/2 inch going up here, and that's my back dart. So after that, another thing I'm going to do is you're going to measure from your shoulder to your waist at the back. So mine is most times 1 inch shorter, so I'm going to go from there, mark 1 inch here, and then I'm going to go ahead and connect it to the side like this. And then after that, I'm going to just go ahead and cut everything. Another thing that you have to make sure of is that, like I said, you're going to be joining this here by the neck and then by the bottom and then the armhole. So from one of the sleeve you can turn it over, so you can go from the top part of this sleeve and turn it over to the right side, like to turn it, and then you also have to notch the edges here so that it's not too tensed, right? So you see mine, this is the front, this is the back. You see everything is almost exactly like the same. So you have to make sure that the shoulder top here, this shoulder slope is the same width. So you see mine is exactly the same thing, because the same 1 inch I removed in back at the back, I removed it at the front. But for this particular video, you will notice that it may seem as though this shoulder part here is smaller. It's almost looking like halter neck. So one thing I am going to do again is to go back in again and remove 1 more inch. If you want, you can stop here, but I like how her own is, like the width of the sleeve at the shoulder is not that wide. So I think I will go in again by just 1 inch on my own shoulder, and then like that I'm going to blend it in just into the armhole like this. You see, I'm doing everything both for the front and the back. I'm just making it like an angle. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So whatever I have in between here now, like this, I have about 3.5. So by the time I'm done, I'm going to sew half an inch away here, half an inch away in the midline. So I'm going to be left with 2.5, which is okay for me for the width of my shoulder. If you want, you can go in and do 1.5 more, but this is okay. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out now. And don't forget to also split open your zipper part. So guys, for the bottom part of the dress, so remember it's a tier dress, so whatever you want you can add to yours. And to the top parts, the focus of the video is mostly on the top part. So but for the bottom, I've already cut out what I will need for mine. So how you're going to calculate the length is basically from your shoulder to your ankle or to the floor, wherever it is. So mine is 57, right? 57 from my shoulder to the floor. And then from my shoulder to my waist, which is from my shoulder to my waist, my half length is 17. So I'm going to subtract this 17 from this so that I can get my full length. So if I subtract it, that's going to leave me with about 40, right? So it's going to leave me with 40 inches for the bottom part. So that means from this point here down to this point is 40. So between these two tiers, I need to share this 40 inches. And the upper one is longer than the lower one. So the first one is longer than the lower one. So what I'm going to do is this first one, I'm going, instead of doing 20 20, I'm going to do it about so what I did was 20, I think 26 and 14, right? So 26 and 14, which will give me 40 inches on the dot. So if you add these two now, it will give you 40. So what you're going to do is the first layer, whatever you decide to do, maybe you decided to do 25 15 or whatever you decide to do, just know that the first one you're going to do, so the first tier, you're going to add half an inch to join the upper part, half an inch to join the lower part. That's what you add to the length. So instead of cutting length of 26, what you're going to cut is 27. And then from the bottom one, what you're going to do is add half an inch for the upper part and 1 inch for the lower part. So that's 1.5. Just because the end here you're going to be folding, it is not adding to any other thing. Half an inch is just to add it to something else, but this lower one is to fold the edge, right? So that's why we added extra 1 inch here. So that's 14. That's going to be 14 plus 1.5. That's going to be 15.5. So this is going to be the length of my lower tier, and this is going to be the length of my upper tier. So now to calculate the width of the fabric, what will help you make the girder, you're going to calculate round your waist, round the waist, right? So round your waist, let's say your waist is 32, you're going to do 32 times 2.5. So 32 times 2.5, let's say what you get is like, I don't know, maybe 70. I don't know, I'm just giving you an instance. So let's say what you get is 70. 70 is going to be the width of the fabric that you're going to use to run around your waist. You understand? So now, after doing that, to calculate the width for this second tier now, you're going to do this 70 again times 2.5. The only reason I'm not saying times 3 is because the fabric might not be enough, because if you do times 3 of this, you will be surprised at how much fabric you will need to do that. So, or to be safe, you can do times 2, but times 2 the flare will not be much at, it will not even look Like it might be okay, but I'm just saying the flay will not be enough, right? But if you want it just okay, do times 2.5 for the first layer. That's the first layer, you're multiplying your waist, and then whatever you get, because now this lower one is going to be going round the lower part of this first layer, so that's why you need to multiply what you got for the first one by 2.5 again. That's what you're going to use to gather the lower waist, the lower line of this first tier, you understand? Because it's going to be attaching to this part, so you're going to use that for it. So whatever you get is what you're now going to use as the lower tier. That's how you're going to calculate both the length and the width. So this is mine here. This is the first, this is the lower one for me. You see, I've gone ahead and used my 1 inch to fold the edge of the cloth. You see, when I say fold, I just mean like to hem the end. I've done that, and then I still have 1 inch at this upper part to join it to this other layer of my tier. See the layer here, this other one here coming down to this part here, you see? And then to this one now, the main body of my dress will now add to this part. So the body of my top will be added to this upper part. So you see, I have my tier, the lower one, the second one, and then my top at the upper part. So now let me show you what I've done so far for my top. So the top, this is what I've done at this point here. This is it. So you see, like I said, I didn't want to use lining for the back. I just used bias to run it here, and then place this one and used it to turn it over. You see, there's nothing here inside. This is the wrong side here. I've also picked my dart. So you see, bias here, bias here, bias here by the armhole. So now what I'm going to do is to turn this over so you guys will see. So put it this way, and then you see it's coming together now. You see all the edges are already hemmed. Every part of this here is folded, right? All the edge, my neckline, the curve here, the curve at the armhole, even the curve on this back armhole too, everything has been done, right? So now the next step is going to be to add this one here, which I've also done the center part. Like I was saying before, you're going to use your lining to turn this at the top. You see, I joined the 3-piece of my lining, the 3-piece of my cloth, join it at the top part here. When you join it, you might notice that this outer one might be a little longer, so just go ahead and shave it off by this center part where it meets this center one. Just shave that off, and that will be it. So now you see, this is what mine looks like. So I need to bring it up to be the length of my cloth, the same length as my armhole, and then I'm going to place this down. But if you notice, you'll see that even with it placed this way, it's still coming out by this armhole here a little bit, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove about half an inch here, because I feel like it's half an inch that I need to remove. Some people, yours might be about almost 1 inch. Go ahead and just cut off the excess that you have by the armhole. So I think I'll do 1 inch, but coming down here, I'll taper it in. Just at this upper part is where I'm doing it. Just at this upper part here is where I'm going to be. Just this is what I'm cutting. I'm not touching here because I'm going to use it as seam allowance to hem this. Just this upper part here. I'm going to cut this out, and then what I'm going to do now, once I do that, is to go ahead and from the inside again, I'm going to fold it this way and hem it, close it up. You understand? That's why I said I will not touch this bottom part, so that I will use it, because if you notice, the length of this part here by the armhole is almost the same. So it's just a little bit longer on this side, but here maintain the length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the excess here, use half an inch to join it up to this point here, and then once that is done, I'm just going to sew it down. So you're going to take this here, place it on top here, and just hem it down to the body here, just on top of it. You can do this side and this side, or you can just do the upper part and leave the lower part. But I'm going to be holding it down at the bottom, holding it down at the top, holding it down at the bottom, holding it down at the top. That's just only sewing it to the frontal. You're not joining it to the back yet. Once that is done, before you now go ahead and close up the side seam like this, close up the two sides, close up these two sides before you join it to the body of your clothes. So let me go ahead and start coupling mine together. So guys, this is it here. So you see, like I said, I've gone ahead and coupled mine together. I stitched it down here, stitched it here, stitched it down here, stitched it here. Just on top of this, like I said, you're going to fold it in. You see, if you look at this edge here, it's folded in just like how I did the top part here after you've cut off the excess. And that's basically it. So you close it up, measure the waist to be sure that it's your waist, join the first layer, and then join this second one to this. You see, the gather is attached to this one, and then on this free end again, this gather, I gathered the lower one. So this end here is not gathered, this one is gathered, this one is gathered also. So that's basically it. So this is the back. You see, it's just one plain color, the same color as the body of the clothes, and then I have my zipper here. And that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.